From the Kansas City Sports Update Studio, this is the Richard Smith Show, where we talk about all things Kansas City Chiefs, brought to you by Arrowhead Update. Don't forget to check out our Royals Update podcast with Kevin Mong. Check us out on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Speaker Player FM, YouTube, and all third-party applications. Also check us out on all major social media platforms. And if you can't find us there, just Google The Richard Smith Show and Kansas City Chiefs, and I promise you will find it. Let's talk Chiefs. How are we doing, Chiefs Kingdom? It is Sunday, May 26th at 7 p.m. Arrowhead time. And as we continue our fan week, I have a guest on the show tonight that is a great friend of mine and really is kind of a catalyst at what he's doing. He's got his pages, the NFL Longest Yard, as well as Chiefs Have Mahomes. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, thank you for having me. Good afternoon, evening. Like I said, my name's Ryan. Big Chiefs fan. Unfortunately, I've been stuck in Houston, Texas for about 20 years, but grew up south of Kansas City. And, of course, my love for the Chiefs has continued since I've been in Texas. Definitely try to make it up to as many games as possible, and we've been to all the Texans-Chiefs games down here, so still rooting for my boys. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. I'm happy to have you on the show, and we've got some things to cover here. And first off, I want to touch base on the NFL draft coming to Kansas City. As you being a Kansas City native and actually going to high school at one point in Kansas City, I want to ask you what your take is on the magnitude of the situation with the draft coming to Kansas City and the implications it'll have economically for the community.
Here's the deal. Everybody was very, very pleased about how well Nashville did it this year. And I'm not taking anything away from Nashville, Tennessee. They did. They put on a good show. I think the draft was great. But I got to tell you, Kansas City's a football town. I don't think Nashville competes. Don't think they compete with how we deal with our Chiefs, how we love our team, and how we love football. Not to mention that there's going to be fans of other teams that'll travel to Kansas City just for this. I think we're going to blow their socks off. I'm excited. You want to get economical? I'm not. Of course, it's going to bring some money to Kansas City. But I couldn't even begin to tell you. I do expect a huge turnout for that draft. And I think it's going to be a sea of red out in front of, what is it? They're going to do Union Station probably?
I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah, so, Kansas City's got to be excited for that. Hell, we heard about it, and the first thing we did is, well, how can we get up there? It's real close to my birthday, so that might be a way for me to guilt trip somebody into taking me up there.
There you go.
I'm excited. I think Kansas City deserves something like this. I'm actually really good with them hopping around city to city to city with this as well. As long as they don't take it overseas or to Mexico City, I'd like to keep it in our football towns.
Absolutely, yeah. So I agree with everything you say there. And from a fan standpoint, it really is a big deal because it's a huge party for Kansas City. And you get the whole community out there. And, you get us – wait till the draft comes across the board for the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2023 NFL Draft. And you know what I mean? There's going to be a roar that the draft has never heard, the NFL has never heard before. We're going to rock the socks off of that place. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, I want to touch base on that because that is the big news coming out of Kansas City right now. But more importantly, let's get to our team because that's what we love and that's what we're here to talk about. So, what is your take as far as where we're at defensively with depth and with the question marks around the defense? Where do you think we stack up with the rest of the NFL? Do you think it's going to take pressure off of Patrick Mahomes?
This offseason with our defensive line and what we've been through the past 2 years defensively, which is amazing. Kansas City's really never had a bad defense like this, so none of us knew how to handle this. Fortunately, we had an offense that kind of took the sting out of it, but I don't want to speak bad about Mr. Sutton, but I feel our defense got a lot better the moment that we went ahead and let him go.
Yeah.
I don't think we had a disciplined defense. We had some standouts that did extraordinary, and then on the other side, we had some guys that looked like they didn't even belong on an NFL field. My biggest thing is I look for Spags to bring out more discipline in our defense. We got rid of the flashy names, Houston, D Ford for some, Eric Berry, heartbreaking. Pulled in Mathau. I'm very excited about the Honey Badger coming, but I think we kind of went middle of the way to good in who we picked up in the free agency. Okafor, I haven't heard enough about him. I think he's going to be a great surprise for us. What I'm looking forward to is that whole defensive unit playing as a team, being on the same page. Yes. I think the coaching is the big difference, and that's what's going to make us come from 31, 32 rank up to at least 15. I'm not quite top 10 yet, but I'm really hoping that we play as a team defensively. I think that's what we've missed more than anything on that side of the ball.
Absolutely, and to drive in your point there, that's a big thing for a lot of fans out there is the consistency across the board on defense, not just the impact players. And when it really comes down to it, and when our team was old, the core that we had on defense was old, and we needed to take a turn around the corner and really get younger. When you have a Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, your defense is on the field more. And so you need motors in that defense. And Alex Okafor, I did want to touch base on him since you brought him up. His nickname in New Orleans was the Hammer. And so if you were to look at the highlight film of Alex Okafor, it's 14 minutes long. The entire Tampa Bay Buccaneers highlight film for last year wasn't even 14 minutes long. So we've got some talent really coming in here. And my thing is we just needed to get a little bit better, and I think we're going to get more than a little bit better. And then, so I guess that's going to lead me into my next question. What do you think about the offense? Do you think Patrick Mahomes' production is going to drop because the pressure isn't on him as much?
Oh, this is hard for me. I was the guy that was actually begging somehow, some way for the miracle of drafting Patrick Mahomes. And I'm sure a lot of people claim it, but I've got messages to my brother the day before the draft of who I wanted on my wish list.
All right, so tell me, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I got to interrupt you because you just let me realize where you lived at during this time period. What was it like in Texas with Patrick Mahomes being a quarterback down there, knowing you watching all that, him coming from White House, then going to Texas Tech, and then the possibility of him going to the Kansas City Chiefs? How was that for you living in Texas, being able to watch all that firsthand?
Well, high school football is big down here, and you see a lot of games, highlights in and out on the local news. It's big. But once he went to Texas Tech, you start seeing a lot of that on the Sports Center and the local sportscasting. He caught your eye. But, man, you watch the games like he had against Baker Mayfield when they played Oklahoma, and you're just looking at the kid saying if he had a defense on that team, wow, they'd be looking at, national rankings, maybe championship, but they had no defense. So you start clicking, it's like, man, if you could take him and put him under an Andy Reid system, wow, imagine that. Because that was my biggest thing with Alex Smith. Alex Smith took us from a very terrible team to a pretty good team.
Yeah.
But that's where he tapped out. That's where he stopped. Alex Smith was great at what he does, and that's not turning the ball over.
Yeah.
But we needed just a little bit more, and we got a lot more with Patrick Mahomes, and more than anybody expected.
Absolutely.
I guess to go back to your question, can I expect him to throw 50 touchdowns, run 2 in, and over 5,000 yards consistently? Man, no, I can't. But even if he does have this slump that everybody's expecting, it's probably going to still put him in elite territory. Who's going to cry about a 45 touchdown season with 4,500 yards? I'm not going to complain.
You call that a slump? I mean, we're doing great.
Exactly. I'm curious. I might be the only one excited about this, but picking up Carlos Hyde, I'm excited about that.
Me too.
Everybody's telling me, he might not even make the team, third string. I don't know. I think under our offense, we're going to see a Carlos Hyde that will be very productive. He'll be a leader. He's got that experience. So we'll see. I'm not coaching the team. I'm not watching them, day in and day out on film, but I'm still excited. I think Carlos Hyde has a lot to give us.
Hey, I'm big on the Carlos Hyde train as well, and I've said this in my broadcast before. And there's really some speculation, but here's my thing about Carlos Hyde is when you, just like you mentioned before, when you get put into an Andy Reid system, if you're a system player, you should flourish. And what happened when Priest Holmes got brought into a system as a system player? What did Priest Holmes do? Everybody keeps saying, well, Carlos Hyde isn't a receiving running back. Well, neither was Priest Holmes, but that's why we brought in that guy from Utah State.
Neither is Anthony Sherman, but look what happened.
Yeah, right. Very true. See, and that's the thing is Patrick Mahomes changes that whole dynamic, and that's awesome that you brought that up too. And I'd like to see Anthony get another receiving touchdown. But, I mean, he even said in a comment here a few weeks ago that he'd rather protect the quarterback than catch touchdowns. But I'm going to shift gears here a little bit. When it comes to an Andy Reid-led system, and then you brought up the fact of Patrick Mahomes never having a defense, okay? So then you add a Steve Spagnuolo system and a Matt House system, and you bring those two together, and then you bring all this talent in this. When we switched up our formation, we went from a 4-3 to a 3-4, so we switched that up, or vice versa, whatever it was. But what do you think of that? Because that system, Spagnuolo is a genius. So is Matt House. Like, they're proven defensive coordinators.
Well, what I think's neat about it is, we run in the 3-4, and we have switched up to a 5-3 this year. But what's got me interested is how everybody's saying it's a hybrid 5-3. And I think we've put the right players in place to run that, maybe off the wall, different type style defense. You listen to the Honey Badger, and he'll tell you, I'm not just a safety, I'm a football player. I bet you could put him at nose tackle every now and then, he'd find a sack. He's that guy. And I think that will also bring out that aspect in other defensive players, and this could be a special defense. It could blow up in our face and be ranked 32 this year, but I'm excited. I think the discipline, the team atmosphere on defense is going to be huge. How they mold together and how they play as one is going to be the difference. That's what I'm excited for.
And there's been a lot of reviews.
Getting caught up in what exactly this hybrid defense is, 4-3 defense is. I don't know exactly. I try to find videos and I'm educating myself on it, but I'm excited to see what he does with what we have. We forget names like, K-Pass, and Lord knows Chris Jones is just a monster. Adding to the back end, Breland, who played in Washington with Fuller. I mean, Fuller was recruiting him from day one. They've got chemistry. I like that kid Ward. Boy, did he get thrown to the wolves that first game against Seattle, and everybody's like, oh, man. But he stepped up the next week, and he got better, and he got better, and he got better. I think Ward's somebody to look out for. Dorian O'Daniel's another one. I look for him in this special defense to be a big player.
With Braylon Speaks.
We've got a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, we really do. And here's the thing that I want to touch base on as far as our defensive backfield. I have a really good feeling that we are going to get a lot better production out of our cornerbacks this year. And there's a lot of people that were disappointed that in the draft that we didn't go after cornerbacks earlier in the draft. But here's the thing. We have good cornerbacks. Now, the thing of it was last year is they were left on islands every single play. So now that we have people to back them up and the system is switched up, and like you said, we're running 5-3, there's going to be speed all over the field. So that really...
a 4-3, excuse me. I lied to you. I misspoke. It is a 4-3 hybrid.
And so, like, you change up that system, you get more speed on the field. Our corners aren't going to be left out to dry like they were last year. And the big word coming out of OTAs already from Patrick Mahomes is his saying that the defense is challenging him, and he said that it's not anything like he saw last year in the NFL. Spags is really getting nitty gritty and detail oriented with these guys, and he said that it's been back and forth, offense and defense in OTAs. It has not been one sided.
That's very promising, but yeah. You said detail-oriented. I love to hear that out of our defense. One of the there were two signature plays that wrapped up our defense last year. You've got one of a still shot, Phillip Gaines looking at the quarterback, and the ball's behind him and the receiver, and he's lost. We saw a lot of that. The other one that sticks in my head was when Eric Berry finally gets out on the field, and he's screaming at his cornerback to get in position. They look lost out there,
yeah.
And that made me think, what has been going on this whole time, and the details, the discipline. So I'm excited about that, and we need something to help that offense out.
Absolutely, and to go a little bit deeper into that, I'm going to put you in a GM standpoint. If you had the keys to the Ferrari right now, and you were the GM of the Kansas City Chiefs, what would be your next move? Now, keep in mind, before you answer this question, I'm going to dig deep for you and give you a little insight as to the next couple of years. I'm sure you know this, but there's some things we're forgetting about the aspects of the Chiefs franchise. I know that you realize that we have to pay Chris Jones, Tyreek Hill, and Patrick Mahomes here in the next couple of years. We also have the franchise caps to utilize. But one thing everybody forgets, and this is what I want to bring up before you answer that question. When all of those contracts are ready to be paid, Travis Kelce has to be paid too. So tell me, as the GM of the Kansas City Chiefs right now, what would you do?
Right now, what I would do, the one thing I would be immediately concerned with is the inside linebacker positions. Offensively, boy, you got to look at Kelce. How old will he be when that contract's up again?
32, 33.
Is this the time to pull what the Patriots do? Get what you can out of him. Maybe get some trade. He's a great player. As a homer, God, no, I don't want to see him leave. Not at all. But you ask me as a businessman, as a GM, that's a bargaining chip right there. And
it is, but he also
contract,
opens up the field for the Chiefs, and that's the biggest thing is he stretches the field for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's the best at it. So that's my biggest thing is until that production starts to decline. He had the best year of his career last year. So until that production starts to decline, I'd love to keep him around. But continue. I'm sorry. I had to put those details out there.
No, you're perfectly fine. You're perfectly fine. And yes, that's the hardest part. Being a diehard Chiefs fan, you want to keep everybody. You never want to have to, put a jersey up in the closet because he don't play for you anymore. You want to still wear it because he retired with you. As a GM, well, that's tough, and that might be something you have to address at the moment. Who knows? Let's see who we get behind him. We might find some young talent stud that's just the next Travis Kelce, only 5-10 years younger, and we can move on from him and use him as a bargaining chip. But immediately speaking, like I said, I think the inside linebacker position still concerns me. I would be looking still before the season starts. Just find something, depth, find some diamond in the rough until we get something solidified. But again, that's tough. And I'll explain it in a little bit because I think you're going to go somewhere else that I can speak to you about it. But as a general manager and Kelce, that I think that's going to have to come down to the time when it's needed to be decided.
Fair enough. And to be honest with you, I feel like that I'm about to head into what you were getting ready to bring up right now. And with that being said, what's your take on Sammy Watkins?
I like the guy. I don't know how you can't. As for his future as a Kansas City Chief, that's going to depend on a couple things. First and foremost, can he finish out a season healthy? That's his biggest downfall. We knew that when we got him. We knew it when we got him. A healthy Sammy Watkins changes our offense. It just makes it unstoppable.
Yeah.
We've got that elephant in the room that I don't even want to talk about, but it's there. Tyreek Hill. We don't know. We can speculate. We can split the difference and say a 6-game suspension. Fair?
Yeah.
And Sammy Watkins has got to be the one to step up in that.
Yes.
We've got the young man out of Georgia that we're all excited about.
McCole Hartman.
I see him stepping up in the punt return. I think he could fill those shoes, but as a number one receiver, not yet. The advantage we have is he came out of college as a receiver, not a running back like Tyreek. But at the same time, Sammy Watkins is going to have to be the man who steps up and says, I want the number one, and does it. He's going to have to play through some pain.
Yeah.
He's going to have to earn his keep.
He's going to have to prove it. And so, and you're 100% right about that. And that's the same throughout Chiefs Kingdom and really the organization. And I don't know if you've seen on social media Sammy Watkins saying that he's really prepped himself for this season and this is going to be different, and a turnaround thing for him has really been huge the last week. And I guess my thing, and will be my next question to you. So say Sammy Watkins has a career year this year. I don't see Sammy Watkins eclipsing 1,000-yard receiving because there's too many playmakers on the Chiefs. But say he has a career year and he scores 8 touchdowns. In my mind, regardless of how this year plays out for Sammy Watkins, he's gone either way. What do you think about that?
I'm not going to disagree. 1 year out of 2, I think we overspent for him. I do. As a fan, it's like, yeah, throw all the money at these named players and let's see what happens. The Rams got away with it. They did last year. But I don't think he's worth the risk after this season. By that time, again, the biggest part of this is Tyreek Hill. And that's why it's so hard for me to guess what's going to happen, or, it's got you up late at night just wondering, where are we going at with this? That's going to play a big role. And, let's say Tyreek Hill is out for the season. Sammy Watkins is going to have a spectacular year. We need him to stay healthy. But, again, by that time, the following year, I like our boy out of Georgia. I think he fills that spot, and you're right. We move on from Sammy Watkins.
And I'm with you on that, and I feel like Tyreek's okay. And I don't really want to touch base on that scenario because that's a civil matter and it involves a kid. But the direction that it's going, it seems like it's all right. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I don't want to elaborate on that anymore. But on the defensive side, another guy who I think is having a pivotal year is Anthony Hitchens. And what's your take on Anthony Hitchens? Do you think switching this system, is he going to produce like he did in Dallas?
Absolutely. I think it's a very pivotal year for him. Here's my biggest problem. With the exception of Phillip Gaines, maybe Steven Nelson, I'm not willing to judge any of our defensive players on the past 2 years' production. I want to say that it was the coaching. It started from the top. And in order to earn your spot, this is the year to do it. Prove it was the coaching. Prove you're better than what we've seen. The discipline, the attention to detail, I look for a big year out of him. The same with Ragland. I expect better out of him. Would it be fair to say that Hitchens was below average, subpar? I think him being above average would secure him a couple more years. It at least shows him in the right direction and he's fitting in our system. But anything like last year, yeah, we move on from him.
My thing is with the talent that they brought in around him, and the motor that he has, I feel like this is a turning point in his career to get it back on track, because he was a monster with the Cowboys. And I think that was another thing. Like, Andy Reid had a plan. And last year, we knew that our defense was lacking. It was one of the worst in NFL history, and we had to get some people out the door. But once that process started happening, he could bring in the people that he wanted around the people that he was already building off of. When he went and got Ragland and Hitchens, that was for this defense. It wasn't for last year's defense, and I think a lot of people forget that. So you're right about that, and I'm glad that you touched base, is because, we're not even seeing the talent that we brought to Kansas City because they weren't even in the right system. So I'm with you on that one. My next question...
Well, I mean, you can even go back as far as last year's draft. Speaks, he's a 4-3 guy. We drafted him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think K-Pass will be a lot better in a 4-3. We drafted him while we were running. This was planned. It was in the future plans. You are completely right about that.
And that's what's fun about it. So when my thing is I've taken the time to watch the highlight films of these guys and see what they're all about. And everybody that we've brought in. And there's one thing consistent about every single person that we brought in. Number one, there's three things. Number one, huge motors. Number two, ball hawks. Number three, all over the field. All of them. So that's my biggest thing. And then you put them with a detail-oriented Matt House and Steve Spagnuolo. Steve Spagnuolo is just as big of a genius as Big Red. So it's gonna be great. And so with that being said, let's move on to predictions. With everything that we put on the table, we've covered a lot tonight. We've covered GM status of the front. We've covered front office, head coach, offense, defense. Where do you think we're stacking up in the NFL next year? What's your prediction for the Kansas City Chiefs?
I'm gonna throw a plug in real quick. We did a live video on my other NFL Longest Yard page, and we went game by game. I got stuck with a Patriots fan, but we went game by game. I've got us at 13-3, and I think that's fair. I think that's very fair. Even if our offense takes this quote step back unquote, I think our defense more than makes up for it. I mean, we were arguably one honey badger away from the Super Bowl last year. We were one play away.
Absolutely.
Or, it just an offside, whatever. We were one defensive play away.
We were an encroachment call away.
Yes, I didn't want to say one D4 away, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think to keep the production up, like we talked about with Patrick Mahomes, we can't expect that. But our defense, the change in it, will more than compensate for what we might not do on offense compared to last year. It's just going to be an all-around better team.
Absolutely, and that's the biggest thing about it, is because when you take a little pressure off of a quarterback who throws 50 touchdowns and for 5,000 yards, and then you take that pressure and you replace it with production. Wow, what a combination! We were one play away from the Super Bowl, and then you take some pressure off of that star quarterback, and then you put some of it on a defense who will obviously be able to handle it and put up points and put up stops. We're in a really, really good position. I'm with you on that one. I personally say we're going to go 14-2, lose to the Packers, and the Chargers are going to get us once again this year. That's my prediction. We're going to lose one in the AFC West. Now, you have your social media platforms. You have Chiefs have Mahomes, and then you have the NFL Longest Yard. And there's a lot of great information on there, folks, and you should really get on there and check it out. Add it, like it, and get involved, because this is a community of football fans, and we're all a family here, regardless of what team we represent. We're all in it for fun, and it's moderated, so you don't have to worry about all the trash talk and stuff. There is some, that's football, but it's one of those things. This is a great thing for everybody, so hop on and check this guy out. Kind of give them a preview. How long have you been doing this with the Longest Yard and Chiefs have Mahomes?
We've started up the Longest Yard. Oh boy, you're going to put me on the spot. 6-7 months ago. Mm-hmm. It's been a lot of fun, and like you said, it's a different atmosphere. There's plenty of trash talk pages out there, but we're not one. We like to focus on a good football conversation. Be respectful, classy, throw your opinion out there and not have to worry about getting called every name in the book. And when we started up our Chiefs Have Mahomes page, Mike Wakefield and I, we wanted the same atmosphere. We wanted to be able to have fun. We wanted to be able to go on with other Chiefs fans in a positive environment and talk good Chiefs football. You know, we can have a debate without getting, dirty with each other. But at the end of the day, you're right. We're a family. You know, this is football. Let's have some respect for each other and have a good place to talk about Chiefs football. So that was Mike Wakefield and my idea when we started this page. And unfortunately, it was being on a few other pages that kind of guided us to that. We were like, let's do something different. So it's a lot of fun. Come check us out.
And that's awesome, and they really are a good group of people. And there's a lot of information on there that isn't on other platforms. So really get on there. And that's why I bring Mike on here, and that's why I bring you on here as well. It's one of those things. I want the community to get involved. I want everybody to understand that it is a family here in Chiefs Kingdom, and no matter where we live, no matter what the situation, I mean, let's bring it all together. We got a lot to be excited about here in Chiefs Kingdom. Ryan Reed, it was a pleasure, man. I'm happy that you came on the show. I really appreciate it. I'd like to have you on here again sometime.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. I thoroughly enjoyed talking football with you, my friend, and anytime you just let me know. Maybe we'll get to do a live video. Unfortunately, it didn't work out this time.
Hey, troubleshooting, my friend, troubleshooting. We'll get it all together. But before I let you go, I want to touch base on one thing. There were some polls that were put on all of our social media platforms today. And fans, for you to get involved, I'd like for you to post in the comments on all these platforms that you're listening on of what you think the answer is to this. And our first poll question is, if you could have any running back for a Chiefs franchise right now, and it was somebody who's already played for the Chiefs in the past, would it be Priest Holmes or Jamal Charles in their prime? So answer that on the comments, whatever platform you're listening to. Also, there is another poll out there, would you rather have Carl Peterson or Brett Veach as your GM? That answer that as well. So comment, like, share. Everybody is on all the social media platforms. Chiefs Have Mahomes, Kansas City Sports Update, The Richard Smith Show. The polls everywhere. So check it out. It's getting a lot of traction, and that's really what we need here. So Ryan Reed, it's a pleasure, man. Great having you on the show, and we'll speak with you soon. All right, bud?
All right, thank you very much. You have a good evening.
You too. All right, everybody. That's the broadcast for this evening. I appreciate you tuning in. There'll be a lot more sports news up and coming. So this is the Richard Smith Show here at the Kansas City Sports Update Studios, brought to you by Arrowhead Update. Check us out on iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Player FM, YouTube, and all third-party applications. Check us out on all social media platforms. And there has been some added to that tonight on this broadcast. Check those out as well. NFL Longest Yard, as well as Chiefs Have Mahomes. And if you cannot find us there, just Google The Richard Smith Show and Kansas City Chiefs, and I promise you will find us. Have a great night, Kansas City.